Dr. Hyun-woo Kim looked through the thick glass window at the empty holding cells. Tomorrow, the first group of alien predators would arrive at the research station. He had been waiting for this moment for 3 years. "Are you ready for this?" Dr. Soyoung Park asked as she walked up beside him. She carried a tablet full of notes about animal behavior. Her job was to study how different species acted around each other. "As ready as anyone can be," Hyun-woo replied. He wiped his sweaty hands on his lab coat. "We have never done anything like this before." The research station Harmony's Edge floated in space between several star systems. It was built as a place where different alien species could work together safely. The station was huge, with special areas for each type of alien. Some areas had different air to breathe. Others had different gravity or temperature. Hyun-woo led the human research team. They had come here to study the most dangerous hunters from different worlds. The goal was simple: learn how apex predators from different planets behave when they meet each other for the first time. "The transport ships will be here in 6 hours, Soyoung said, checking her tablet. "We will have visitors from 12 different worlds." Hyun-woo nodded. He had memorized all the files. There was the Shadowmaw from Proxima Centauri b, a creature as big as an elephant with razor-sharp teeth. The Prism Stalker from Europa looked like a giant crystal spider but moved faster than a cheetah. The Void Hunters came from a gas planet and could float through the air like deadly jellyfish. The most interesting one was the Thorn Reaper from Kepler 438b. It was a plant-based predator that could move and think like an animal. No one had ever studied a hunting plant before. "Dr. Kim, the alien scientists want to meet with you," said a voice over the communication system. Hyun-woo walked to the main meeting room. 3 alien researchers were waiting for him. He had worked with them for months, but he still felt nervous. Around them, Velthar was from Kepler 44b. He looked like a giant lizard that could walk on 2 legs. His skin was dark green with golden stripes. He was very smart and spoke perfect human language. Dr. Kim Velthar said, in his deep voice, "We have concerns about tomorrow's tests." The second alien was Brickstar from the Vega system. He had 6 arms and huge compound eyes like an insect. When he spoke, it sounded like clicking and buzzing, but the computer translated his words. "The predators we are bringing are extremely dangerous," Brickstar clicked. "On my world, the Shard Mantis has killed entire research teams." The third alien didn't speak much. Her name was Nira, and she came from a water world. She looked like a dolphin but had 4 arms and could breathe air. She mostly communicated through color changes on her skin. "We have the strongest barriers in the galaxy," Hyun-woo said, trying to sound confident. "Each holding cell can stop a nuclear explosion." "It's not about the barriers," Velthar replied. "It's about what happens when these creatures see each other and see us." Velthar was right to worry. No one knew what would happen when apex predators from different worlds met for the first time. Some scientists thought they would try to fight each other. Others believed they would ignore each other completely. "We have studied predators on our own worlds for thousands of years," Brickstar said. "But this is different. These creatures have never seen anything like the other species." Hyun-woo understood their fear. On Earth, when 2 apex predators met, there was usually trouble. Lions and tigers didn't get along. Sharks and crocodiles avoided each other. What would happen when creatures from completely different evolutionary paths came face to face? "We will take every precaution," Hyun-woo promised. "Each predator will be in its own secure area. We will study them separately first, then slowly introduce them to each other through controlled tests." 6 hours later, the first transport ship arrived. Hyun-woo and Soyoung watched from the control room as the massive vessel docked with the station. The ship was built like a floating prison, with dozens of separate compartments for dangerous cargo transport. "One has arrived," announced the ship's captain over the radio. "We have the Shadowmaw from Proxima Centauri b. Warning, this creature has been sedated, but it is still extremely dangerous." Hyun-woo watched as robotic arms moved a huge metal container into the station. Inside that container was something that had ruled an entire planet as the ultimate hunter. Vital signs are stable, So Young reported, reading the data from sensors inside the container. The creature is waking up. More ships arrived over the next few hours. Each one brought a different apex predator. The Prism Stalker came in a container made of special metal that could hold its crystal-cutting claws. The Void Hunter needed a pressurized tank filled with gas from its home planet by the end of the day. They had 12 of the most dangerous creatures in the galaxy locked in separate cells in the station's secure wing. Tomorrow, we begin the real work, Hyan-Woo said to his team. We will be the first beings to study these creatures outside their natural environments. That night, Hyan-Woo couldn't sleep. He kept thinking about what they might discover. Each of these creatures was the ultimate hunter on its world. They had evolved over millions of years to be perfect killing machines. What would they think of the aliens around them? What would they think of humans? The next morning came quickly. Hyan-Woo met So Young and the rest of the human team in the observation area. Through thick windows, they could see into 12 different holding cells. Each cell was designed to match the home environment of the creature inside. Let's start with the Shadowmaw, So Young suggested. It should be fully awake by now. Hyan-Woo pressed a button, and lights came on in the first cell. The Shadowmaw was huge, even bigger than the reports had said. It looked like a cross between a bear and a crocodile, with black fur and massive jaws full of teeth. It had been sleeping in the corner of its cell. When the lights came on, the Shadowmaw opened its eyes. They were bright yellow and very intelligent. The creature looked around its new environment for a moment, taking in the artificial trees and rocks that had been placed there to make it feel comfortable. Then the Shadowmaw saw the observation window. It saw the alien scientists watching from the other side. Veltha, Brickstar, and Nira were all staring at the creature with fascination. The Shadowmaw looked at each of them for a few seconds, then seemed to lose interest. It yawned, showing teeth as long as kitchen knives, then started exploring its cell. Interesting, So Young said, making notes. It acknowledged the other species, but didn't see them as threats or prey. Then Hyan-Woo stepped into view of the window. Everything changed in an instant. The Shadowmaw stopped moving. Its head snapped toward the window, and its bright yellow eyes locked onto Hyan-Woo's face. The creature's entire body became tense, like a cat ready to pounce. But it didn't look angry or scared. It looked, interested. That's unusual, Velthor said, his voice filled with surprise. The Shadowmaw walked slowly toward the window, never taking its eyes off Hugh. When it reached the barrier, it sat down like a dog and continued staring. It's not showing any signs of aggression, So Young said, checking her instruments. But look at its brain activity. It's extremely focused on you, Hyan-Woo. They moved to the second cell. The Prism Stalker was awake and moving around. It looked like a spider made of living crystal, with 8 legs that could cut through metal. When it saw the alien scientists, it barely reacted. But when the Prism Stalker saw Hyan-Woo through the window, it stopped moving completely. Its crystal body turned different colors, and it approached the window with careful steps. This is very strange, Brickstar clicked nervously. Prism Stalkers usually attack anything they see as a threat, but it's acting calm. Cell after cell showed the same pattern. The Void Hunter, floating in its gas-filled tank, pressed itself against the glass when it saw Hyan-Woo. The Thorn Reaper, a plant creature with vine-like arms, actually moved its flower-like head to follow Hyan-Woo as he walked past its window. Every single apex predator reacted the same way to the human researcher. They ignored the alien scientists completely, but showed intense interest in Hyan-Woo and the other humans. I have studied predator behavior for 30 years, Velthar said, his voice full of confusion. I have never seen anything like this. So Young was taking notes as fast as she could. It's like they recognize something in humans that they don't see in other species, she said. But that's impossible, Brickstar replied. These creatures have never seen humans before. They evolved on completely different worlds. Hyan-Woo stared back at the Shadowmaw, which was still sitting by its window like a patient dog. In the creature's yellow eyes, he saw something that made him feel uncomfortable. The Shadowmoor was looking at him like it knew him. Like it recognized something familiar in his eyes. Something that connected them across millions of years of separate evolution on different worlds. "We need to study this more carefully," Hyenwu said quietly. "Something is happening here that we don't understand." As he spoke, all 12 apex predators turned to look at him at the same time, as if responding to his voice. For the first time since arriving at the station, Hyenwu wondered if they were studying the predators, or if the predators were studying them. 3 days had passed since the first group of predators arrived. Dr. Hyenwu, Kim could not stop thinking about what he had seen. Every apex predator on the station showed the same strange behavior around humans. Dr. Miran Choi arrived on the morning transport. She was an expert in how species evolved over millions of years. Hyenwu had asked her to come help solve the mystery. "Show me what you've discovered," Miran said as soon as she stepped off the ship. Hyenwu led her to the observation deck. "Watch what happens when different people approach the windows," he said. First, Velthar walked past the Shadowmoor's cell. The huge creature looked at him for a moment, then went back to eating its meal. Brickstar tried next. The Shadowmoor barely lifted its head, then Dr. Soyoung Park stepped into view. The Shadowmoor immediately stopped eating. It walked to the window and sat down, staring directly at Soyoung's face. Its yellow eyes followed her every movement. "Incredible," Moran whispered. "It's like the creature knows she's human just by looking at her." Commander Jinho Lee had also arrived that morning. He was a military officer sent to make sure the research station stayed safe. Jinho was tall and strong, with scars on his hands from years of training. "I don't understand why everyone is so excited," Jinho said. "They're just animals in cages." "They're not just animals," Hyenwu replied. "These are the smartest hunters from 12 different worlds, and they're all reacting to humans in the same way." To prove his point, Hyenwu took Jinho to see the pack runners. These creatures had arrived the day before from Wolf 359C. They looked like wolves, but they were much larger and smarter. On their home planet, they hunted in groups and used simple tools. The pack runners were resting in their large cell when Velthar walked by. They didn't even look up. When Jinho appeared at the window, everything changed. All 6 pack runners jumped to their feet at the same time. They formed a line facing the window, just like soldiers standing at attention. The largest pack runner stepped forward and made a sound that seemed almost like a salute. "That's impossible," Jinho said, stepping back from the window. "They're acting like they recognize military formation, but how?" Soyoung asked. "These creatures have never seen human military behavior before." Moran was writing notes as fast as she could. "I need to study the brain scans of these creatures," she said. "Something is happening in their minds when they see humans." The next day brought even stranger discoveries. A new transport arrived with 3 more apex predators. One was the crystal serpent from Kepler 45b. It was 10 meters long and looked like a snake made of living glass. On its home world, it was the only creature that hunted alone and still ruled an entire continent. When the crystal serpent saw the alien scientists, it ignored them completely. But when Hyenwu walked past its cell, the serpent pressed its entire body against the transparent barrier. Its crystal scales changed colors, creating patterns that looked almost like human writing. "It's trying to communicate," Soyoung said in amazement. The second new creature was even more unusual. The Echo Hunter came from a world with no light. It was blind but could see using sound waves, like a bat. It looked like a cross between a spider and an octopus. With 8 arms that could move independently, the Echo Hunter made clicking sounds constantly to map its environment. When alien researchers stood near its cell, the clicking stayed at a normal level. But when any human appeared, the clicking became faster and more complex. "It's scanning you," Miran explained to Hyenwu. "But it's using a different pattern than it uses for other species." The third creature was the strangest of all. The Mind Drifter came from a gas giant planet. It had no solid body at all. Instead, it was made of organized energy that could think and move. It looked like a cloud of glowing particles that constantly changed shape. Most beings couldn't even see the mind drifter clearly. It existed in a different type of space than solid creatures. But when humans looked at its containment field, the energy patterns became more focused and bright. It's responding to human brainwaves, Moran said, studying her instruments. But that should be impossible. Humans and this creature evolved in completely different environments. Commander Ginho was becoming more worried each day. What if these creatures are planning something, he asked. What if they're working together somehow? That's not possible, Velthor said. These species have never met before. They come from different star systems. But Jinho wasn't convinced. He decided to test his theory. He asked Dr. Hyanwu to stand in the central observation area where all the creatures could see him at the same time. I don't think this is a good idea, So-young warned. We need to understand what's happening, Jinho replied. Hyanwu walked to the center of the observation deck. Through the windows around him, he could see all 15 apex predators. In their separate cells, what happened next surprised everyone. Every single creature stopped what it was doing. The Shadowmaw stood up. The pack runners formed their military line. The crystal serpent pressed against its window. The prism stalker changed colors. The void hunters floated to the front of their tanks. All 15 apex predators turned to look at Hyanwu at exactly the same moment. They're synchronized, Moran whispered. Like they're all responding to the same signal. For 30 seconds, none of the creatures moved. They just stared at the human researcher with complete focus. Then, one by one, they performed actions. That looked almost like bowing. The Shadowmaw lowered its massive head. The pack runners crouched down. The crystal serpent coiled into a spiral. Each creature used its own body language, but the meaning seemed the same. They were showing respect. This is unprecedented, Velthar said, his voice shaking. In all my years of studying predator behavior, I have never seen anything like this. Moran was studying the brain scans from all the creatures. Look at this data, she said, pointing to her screen. When they see humans, specific parts of their brains light up. The same parts in every species. Which parts? So-young asked. The areas that control pack behavior, threat assessment, and dominance recognition, Moran replied. It's like their brains are programmed to recognize humans as something special. But what are they recognizing? Huyanwu asked. Moran looked at the scan results for a long time before answering. I think they're recognizing a superior predator, she said quietly. Commander Jinho laughed. That's ridiculous. Humans aren't stronger than these creatures. We don't have claws or teeth or armor. Physical strength isn't everything, Moran replied. These creatures are responding to something else. Something they see in human behavior or intelligence. Over the next few days, they ran more tests. They brought in humans from different backgrounds. Scientists, soldiers, engineers, doctors. Every human got the same reaction from the apex predators. They also tested other intelligent species. The station had visitors from dozens of different worlds. But when alien researchers, diplomats, or traders walked past the predator cells, the creatures barely reacted. Only humans triggered the recognition response. It's not about intelligence, So-young concluded. Some of the alien species here are much smarter than humans. But the predators don't care about them. It's not about technology either, added one of the engineers. Several species have better tools and weapons than we do. Then what is it? Commander Jinho demanded. Dr. Moran had been studying evolutionary data from Earth and the predator worlds. She had been comparing how different species developed over millions of years. I think I'm beginning to understand, she said, during their daily meeting. But I need more information about human evolution. Specifically, about how humans became apex predators on Earth. Humans weren't always apex predators, Hyanwu said. Our early ancestors were prey animals. They had to hide from bigger, stronger creatures. Exactly, Moran replied. And that might be the key to everything. She pulled up data on her computer screen. Most apex predators become dominant through physical advantages. They're bigger, stronger, or more venomous than other creatures. But humans became apex predators through a different path. The room was quiet as everyone waited for her to continue. Humans became the ultimate hunters, not through strength, but through intelligence, cooperation, and adaptability. You learned to use tools, work in groups, and change your environment instead of just adapting to it. So? Commander Jinho asked. So these creatures might be recognizing something they've never encountered before, Moran explained. A predator that achieved dominance through mental evolution instead of physical evolution. As she spoke, alarms began ringing throughout the station. What's happening? Haiyan-Wu asked. New transport arriving, came a voice over the communication system. Emergency priority. We have a special delivery that requires immediate attention. Through the station windows, they could see a massive ship approaching. It was bigger than any transport they had seen before, and it was heavily armored. What could be so important? So-young wondered. The answer came over the radio in a voice that sounded scared. We are delivering the Ancient One from Vega Prime. This creature is over 1,000 years old and has never shown interest in any other life form. But when it saw the video recordings of your experiments, it demanded to be brought here. It demanded, Haiyan-Wu repeated. What do you mean, it? Demanded. The Ancient One wants to see the humans for itself. The massive transport ship docked with the research station with a loud clang. Dr. Haiyan-Wu Kim watched through the window as robotic arms moved a huge containment unit into the secure bay. The container was 3 times larger than any they had seen before. The Ancient One has been alive for over 1,000 years, said Captain Rahoon Park over the radio. He was the transport ship commander. On Vega Prime, it is considered a living legend. Nothing has ever challenged its dominance. Dr. Seung-Min Yoon had arrived that morning. He was an expert on how species evolved over millions of years. He studied old bones and fossils to understand how creatures changed over time. I brought data about human evolution, Seung-Min told the research team. If Dr. Moran is right about humans being different types of predators, this information might help us understand why. Haewon Shin was also new to the station. She was a data analyst who could find patterns in large amounts of information. She had been studying the brain scans from all the apex predators. I've found something interesting, Haewon said, showing her computer screen to the group. Every predator species here became dominant in a different way. The Shadowmoor used size and strength. The Packrunners used group tactics. The Crystal Serpent used speed and stealth. That makes sense, Dr. So-young Park replied. Different environments create different solutions for survival. But humans are different, Haewon continued. According to Dr. Seung-Min's data, humans didn't specialize in just one hunting method. They developed all of them. Seung-Min nodded and pulled up his research. Early humans learned to hunt alone and in groups. They used strength when they had it, speed when they needed it, and stealth when nothing else worked. But most importantly, they never stopped adapting. Other predators evolved to fit their environment, Seung-Min explained. Humans evolved to change their environment to fit them. Commander Ginho Lee was studying the containment unit holding the Ancient One. Have you seen what's inside that container? He asked. The transport crew won't tell us, Haiyan-Wu replied. They say we have to see it for ourselves. Just then, an old voice spoke over the communication system. It sounded tired but very wise. I am Elder Crinthus, the voice said. I have been traveling through space for 3,000 years. I came here because I had to see this phenomenon with my own eyes. Through the docking bay window, they saw a creature that looked like a giant octopus with shimmering skin. Elder Crinthus moved slowly, using mechanical supports to help him walk in the station's artificial gravity. Elder Crinthus belongs to the first species that ever traveled between stars, Velthar explained in a whisper. His people have been watching galactic evolution longer than anyone. The Elder joined them in the observation area. His large eyes looked at each human researcher with great interest. I have seen the rise and fall of 1,000 species, Elder Crinthus said, but I have never seen anything like what you humans represent. What do you mean? Dr. Miren Choi asked. In the ancient records of my people, there are legends, the elder replied, stories of creatures called the persistent ones, beings who could hunt anything, anywhere for as long as it took. Elder Crinthus activated a holographic display. Images appeared in the air, showing ancient cave paintings and stone carvings. These symbols were found on dead worlds across the galaxy, he explained. Worlds where apex predators once ruled, but then vanished. The legends say the persistent ones could follow prey across continents, adapt to any climate, and turn any object into a weapon. The images showed humanoid figures hunting various creatures. The hunting methods were different in each picture, sometimes using spears, sometimes using traps, sometimes working in large groups. We thought these were just myths, Elder Crinthus continued. Stories told to explain why certain predator species suddenly disappeared. But looking at your evolutionary data, I believe humans are the persistent ones from the legends. That's impossible, Commander Jinho said. Humans never left Earth until recently. We couldn't have been on other worlds millions of years ago. Not humans exactly, Songmin said slowly, but the type of predator that humans represent. The ultimate hunter that every world's evolution eventually produces. Hei-1 was running calculations on her computer. According to the data, human ancestors faced more different types of threats than any other species we've studied. Ice ages, droughts, volcanic eruptions, climate changes, and dozens of other predator species. Most species would have gone extinct, Seung Min added. But human ancestors survived by becoming more adaptable each time they faced a new challenge. They didn't just survive, Moran said, understanding dawning on her face. They thrived. Every challenge made them better hunters. New alarms sounded through the station. War Master Gordon is requesting permission to board, came an announcement. Everyone in the room became tense. The Gordon were known throughout the galaxy as the ultimate warrior race. They had conquered 3 star systems through pure military might. War Master Gordon was their greatest champion. Why would he want to come here? Veltha asked nervously. He saw the reports about human predator recognition, Elder Crinthus replied. The Gordon consider themselves the apex predators of the galaxy. He wants to test that claim. An hour later, War Master Gordon arrived. He was 3 meters tall, with thick armor covering his body. His species looked like a cross between a rhinoceros and a gorilla. Gordon had never lost a battle in 50 years of warfare. Where are these humans I have heard about? Gordon demanded, in a voice like thunder. Commander Ginho stepped forward. He was much smaller than the War Master, but he showed no fear. I am Commander Ginho Lee of the human military, he said calmly. For a moment, the 2 warriors stared at each other. Gordon was obviously much stronger and more heavily armed. But something strange happened. Gordon's aggressive posture slowly changed. His shoulders lowered slightly. His eyes narrowed as he studied Jinho's face. You do not fear me, Gordon said. It was not a question. Should I? Ginho replied. Every species I have conquered showed fear before the battle began, Gordon continued. You show something else. What do I show? Recognition, Gordon said quietly. You look at me like you have defeated creatures like me before. Elder Crinthus watched this exchange with great interest. War Master, tell us what you see when you look at this human. Gordon was quiet for a long time. When he finally spoke, his voice was different, more respectful. I see a predator that has never stopped evolving, he said. My people became strong and stayed strong. We found a way to win and kept using it. But this human's eyes tell me his species never stopped changing, never stopped improving. And that makes you feel what Elder Crinthus asked. It makes me feel like I am looking at my successor, Gordon admitted. The room fell silent. No one had ever heard a Gordon warrior acknowledge any being as superior. Dr. Hei-1's computer suddenly chimed with new data. I've finished analyzing all the brain scans, she announced. Every apex predator here shows the same neural response when they see humans. What kind of response? Hyenwu asked. The brain pattern for recognizing an alpha predator, she replied. But not just any alpha. The pattern indicates recognition of the ultimate alpha, a predator type that represents the pinnacle of evolutionary success. "Show us the Ancient One," Elder Crinthus said suddenly. "If my theory is correct, its reaction will prove everything." They moved to the largest containment bay. The Ancient One's container was slowly being opened by robotic systems. "Warning." Lights flashed as the massive lid lifted. Inside was a creature unlike anything they had ever seen. It was enormous, the size of a small building. Its body seemed to be made of living stone, with glowing veins of energy running through it. Multiple heads on long necks emerged from the container, each one looking in a different direction. The Ancient One has been the apex predator on Vega Prime for 1,000 years, Elder Crinthus explained. It has eaten entire forests and drunk lakes dry. Nothing has ever challenged it. The creature's heads turned to look at the alien scientists. Its eyes were like burning coals, ancient and intelligent. It examined Velthar Brickstar, Elder Crinthus, and War Master Gordon with mild interest. Then Hyanwu stepped into view. All of the Ancient One's heads immediately focused on the human researcher. The creature's entire massive body shifted. To face him, its glowing veins pulsed brighter. For the first time in 1,000 years, the Ancient One lowered all of its heads in a gesture that could only be described as a bow. "Impossible," War Master Gordon whispered. "The Ancient One has never bowed to anything," Elder Crinthus said in amazement. "It considers itself the ultimate life form." Dr. Sungmin was staring at his evolutionary data. "I understand now," he said. "Humans didn't just become apex predators, they became the theoretical maximum of what an apex predator could be." "What do you mean?" So-Young asked. "Every other species specialized," Sungmin explained. "They became the best at one type of hunting. But humans became good at every type of hunting while also developing intelligence, technology, and social cooperation. They became the perfect predator," Moran added. "A hunter that could adapt to any environment, use any strategy, and overcome any challenge. And every predator instinctively recognizes this," Haywon concluded, looking at her data. "When they see humans, they see their own evolutionary endpoint, what they would become if they could evolve forever." The Ancient One made a sound like distant thunder. Through the translation system, its words came through clearly. "I have lived for 1,000 years. I have seen the rise and fall of countless species. But I have never before encountered the ultimate hunter. Welcome, apex of all predators." As the Ancient One spoke, every other predator on the station responded at the same time. Roared, the pack runners howled. The crystal serpent sang in crystal tones. It was not a challenge or a threat, it was a salute. 3 days after the Ancient One's arrival, Dr. Taehoon Kong stepped off the transport ship. He was a brain scientist who studied how different species communicated with each other. His specialty was understanding the neural patterns that controlled recognition and social behavior. "I came as soon as I heard about the predator responses," Taehoon told Dr. Hyanwu Kim. "The brain scan data you sent me is unlike anything I've seen before." Captain Yoonji Nam had also arrived on the same transport. She commanded a fleet of exploration ships that searched for new worlds. Her crew had discovered dozens of planets with apex predators. "We brought something special," Captain Nam said with a serious expression. "My ships found a creature that we think you need to see." The cargo bay doors opened to reveal a containment unit unlike any other on the station. This one was made of advanced materials that seemed to bend light around them. Warning signs covered every surface. "What's inside?" Dr. So-Young Park asked. "Morgoth, the ancient captain," Name replied. "It's the last surviving member of a species that destroyed itself. Morgoth killed every other member of its own kind through territorial fighting." "How old is it?" Commander Jinho Lee wanted to know. "Our scientists estimate it's over 5,000 years old," Captain Num said. "It has been alone on a dead planet for 3,000 years. When our exploration team found it, Morgoth had been waiting." "Waiting for what?" Hyanwu asked. "According to our translation systems, it was waiting for the true hunters to find it." Dr. Taehoon was already setting up his brain scanning equipment. I want to monitor neural activity when this creature first sees humans, he said. Based on your previous data, I have a theory about what's happening. The containment unit was moved to the largest observation deck. Through the reinforced windows, they could see Morgeth for the first time. The creature was enormous and looked ancient beyond imagination. Its body was covered in scars from countless battles. It had the basic shape of a large cat, but it was the size of an elephant. Its eyes were silver and seemed to hold the wisdom of ages. When the alien scientists approached the window, Morgeth barely lifted its head. It had seen thousands of species over its long life. None of them had been worth its attention. But when Captain Nam stepped into view, everything changed. Morgeth slowly stood up for the first time in decades. The ancient predator walked to the window with careful, deliberate steps. When it reached the barrier, it did something that shocked everyone. Morgeth lowered itself into a position that looked like a bow between equals. Incredible, Dr. Taehoon said, watching his brain-scanning equipment. Look at these neural patterns. Morgeth isn't showing submission, it's showing respect between apex predators. What's the difference? Velthar asked. Submission means you are stronger than me, Taehoon explained. Respect between equals means I recognize you as worthy of my acknowledgement. But Morgeth has never shown respect to any creature, Captain Num said. It killed its own species because it refused to share dominance with anyone. That's exactly the point, Taehoon replied. For the first time in 5,000 years, Morgeth has found a predator it considers equal to itself. The next day brought an even more unusual visitor. A ship arrived carrying representatives from the collective mind of Altair 7. This was a hive mind entity that existed as a single consciousness spread across billions of individual bodies. The collective had never shown interest in individual life forms before. It communicated only with other hive minds or artificial intelligences. But it had specifically requested to study the humans. We are the collective, spoke a mechanical voice through the communication system. We have processed information from millions of consumed species. We wish to examine the neural patterns of humans. Consumed species? Dr. Moran Choi asked nervously. The collective absorbs other life forms to gain their knowledge and abilities, Elder Crinthus explained. They have been doing this for 10,000 years across hundreds of worlds. Why do they want to study us? Hyanwu wondered that the answer came directly from the collective. In our vast database of absorbed species, we have never encountered a predator type like humans. You represent something we do not fully understand. A representative of the collective came aboard the station. It looked like a walking collection of different body parts from various species. Arms from one creature, legs from another, eyes from a third, but it moved with perfect coordination. Show us these humans, the collective said through its representative. Dr. Sungmin Yoon stepped forward. The collective's representative studied him with dozens of different types of eyes. Fascinating. The collective said. This creature's neural patterns show traces of every successful predator type we have ever absorbed. Pack hunting instincts, solitary stalking behavior, tool use, intelligence, environmental adaptation, persistence hunting, ambush tactics, and social cooperation. Is that unusual? Soyoung asked. It is unprecedented, the collective replied. Most species develop one or two of these traits. Humans appear to have developed all of them simultaneously. We have absorbed the knowledge of apex predators from thousands of worlds, the collective continued. Each was supreme in its own environment, but humans show characteristics that would make them successful apex predators in any environment. Taehoon was recording everything. The collective is essentially saying that humans are universal apex predators, he said. Not just adapted to one world, but adapted to succeed anywhere. Correct, the collective confirmed. In our analysis, humans represent the theoretical pinnacle of predatory evolution. You are what every apex predator would become if evolution continued indefinitely. This revelation sent shockwaves through the scientific community on the station. Dr. Haewon Shin ran new calculations based on this information. If the collective is right, she said, then humans didn't just become apex predators on Earth. They became the ultimate expression of what apex predation could be. But we're not the strongest or fastest, Commander Jinho protested. Physical abilities are not everything, Dr. Taehoon explained. Humans developed the most dangerous combination possible: intelligence, adaptability, cooperation, and the refusal to accept limitations. Other predators evolved to fit their environment, Miran added. Humans evolved to make any environment fit them. As they discussed these discoveries, alarms began ringing throughout the station. Something was happening in the predator containment areas. All apex predators are showing increased neural activity, came an announcement over the communication system. They're all responding to something. The research team rushed to the central observation deck. Through the windows, they could see every predator in its cell. All of them were acting strangely. The Shadowmoor was pacing back and forth, but not in an agitated way. It seemed to be patrolling, like a guard on duty. The packrunners had formed a perfect military formation and were standing at attention. The crystal serpent was creating complex light patterns with its scales. The Ancient One's multiple heads were all turned toward the center of the station, as if waiting for something. Even Morjeth had positioned itself, facing the observation deck. What are they doing? Captain Nam asked. Dr. Taehoon checked his monitoring equipment. They're synchronized, he said in amazement. All their brain patterns are matching. It's like they're preparing for something important. Preparing for what? Hien-Wu asked. Before anyone could answer, a new ship appeared outside the station. This vessel was different from any they had seen before. It was ancient and seemed to be made of materials that didn't quite exist in normal space. Unknown ship, requesting permission to dock, came a voice over the radio. But the voice sounded strange, like it was speaking from very far away. Who are you? The station's controller asked. I am the last Apex. The voice replied. I have traveled across the galaxy for 1,000 years to witness this moment. I must see the ultimate predators with my own eyes. Elder Crinthus suddenly became very excited. The last Apex is a legend, he said. It's said to be the sole survivor of the first apex predator species in the galaxy. If it truly exists, it has watched the rise and fall of every dominant species for millions of years, and it came here to see humans. Soyoung asked. It came here because every apex predator in the galaxy is beginning to sense the same thing, Elder Crinthus replied. The arrival of the species that represents the ultimate evolution of their own nature. The ancient ship docked with the station. The being that emerged was unlike anything they had ever imagined. It seemed to shift between different forms, as if it contained the essence of every apex predator that had ever existed. I have waited eons for this moment, the last apex said, as it approached the observation deck. I have seen countless species rise to dominance and then fall to extinction, but I have never seen a species that achieved true apex status. What do you mean by true apex status? Taehoon asked. Most predators become dominant through superior physical traits, the last apex explained. They are stronger, faster, or more deadly than their prey. But they remain limited by their specialization. The last apex gestured toward the human researchers. These beings became apex predators not through specialization, but through infinite adaptability. They are the first species to achieve dominance that cannot be overcome by changing environments or evolving prey. Because they evolve faster than their challengers, Miran realized. Exactly. The last apex confirmed. They are evolution itself, made conscious and purposeful. When other apex predators look at humans, they see the ultimate endpoint of their own evolutionary journey. As the last apex spoke, every predator on the station began making sounds at the same time. The Shadowmoor roared, the packrunners howled, the crystal serpent sang, and the Ancient One rumbled with deep harmonics. But these weren't sounds of challenge or fear. They were sounds of recognition and acknowledgement. They understand now, the last apex said. Every apex predator instinctively knows when they are in the presence of their evolutionary superior. Today, They have met the species that represents everything they could ever hope to become. Dr. Hyenwu looked around at his fellow humans. For the first time, he truly understood what made humanity special in the galaxy. They hadn't just survived evolution, they had mastered it. 2 days after the last apex arrived, the research station was busier than it had ever been. Ships from across the galaxy were coming to witness what scientists were calling the recognition event. Dr. Young Siko stepped off the morning transport. He was a philosopher who studied what it meant for different species to evolve and succeed. He had come to help everyone understand the deeper meaning of what they had discovered. The implications of your research go far beyond simple predator behavior, Young Sik told Dr. Hyenwu Kim. You've discovered something that changes how we understand evolution itself. Admiral Sujin Kwon arrived with a small fleet of human ships. She was the highest-ranking human military officer in this part of the galaxy. Her presence meant that human leadership was taking the discovery very seriously. Command wants to understand what this means for human relations with other species, Admiral Kwon explained. If every apex predator recognizes humans as superior, we need to know how to handle that responsibility. The station now held representatives from over 50 different worlds. Each species had brought their own apex predators to test the phenomenon. The results were always the same. Every predator showed the recognition response when they saw humans. We've documented over 200 different apex predator species, Dr. Haewon Shin reported. Carbon-based, silicon-based, energy-based, and even some we can't classify. They all show the same neural patterns when exposed to humans, but the most important visitor had not yet revealed itself fully. The last apex had remained in its ship, communicating only through messages. It had said it was preparing for something it called the final demonstration. What is the final demonstration? Dr. Soyoung Park asked during their morning meeting. Elder Crinthus looked worried. According to the ancient texts, it's when the last apex shows the ultimate truth about predator evolution. But the texts also say it only happens once in the history of the galaxy. That afternoon, the last apex finally emerged from its ship. The being had taken a more stable form. It now looked like a combination of every apex predator that had ever existed, but translucent, as if it was made of living light. The time has come, the last apex announced to everyone on the station. For 1,000,000 years, I have waited to witness the arrival of the ultimate predator. Today, I will show you what this truly means. The last apex moved to the central observation deck where all the predator containment areas could be seen. Bring all the humans to this location, it commanded. Admiral Kwon was cautious. Is this safe? She asked. Safer than you can imagine, the last apex replied. The predators will not harm the ultimate hunters. They cannot. It goes against every instinct they have evolved over millions of years. One by one, the human researchers gathered in the central area. Hyenwu, Soyoung, Moran, Seungmin, Taehoon, Haewon, Youngsug, Ginho, and Admiral Kwon stood together in the middle of the observation deck. Around them, through the reinforced windows, dozens of apex predators watched from their containment areas. Observe, the last apex said. Every single predator on the station moved at the same time. The Shadowmoor stood at attention. The pack runners formed perfect lines. The crystal serpent created brilliant light displays. The Ancient One raised all of its heads. Morgith bowed deeply. But then, something even more remarkable happened. The containment barriers began opening. What are you doing? Commander Ginho shouted in alarm. Do not fear, the last apex said calmly. Watch and understand. The Shadowmoor was the first to emerge from its cell. The massive predator walked slowly toward the observation deck. Its yellow eyes were fixed on the humans, but it showed no aggression at all. When the Shadowmoor reached the humans, it lay down on the floor and placed its enormous head near Admiral Kwon's feet, not touching, but close enough to show submission. One by one, every apex predator on the station was released from containment. They all approached the humans with the same careful, respectful behavior. The pack runners formed a protective circle. Around the humans, facing outward, as if guarding them from threats. The crystal serpent coiled itself into a spiral pattern that seemed to honor the humans without threatening them. Even Morgith, the ancient creature that had killed its own species, rather than share dominance, positioned itself in a submissive posture near Dr. Hyanwu. "This is impossible," War Master Gordon said in amazement. "These creatures should be fighting each other. They should be trying to establish dominance. They cannot fight in the presence of the ultimate predator," the last apex explained. "When apex predators recognize a being that represents the pinnacle of their own evolution, all territorial instincts are overridden by a deeper recognition." Dr. Young-sik was watching everything with philosophical wonder. "They're not seeing us as competitors," he realized. "They're seeing us as the fulfillment of what they were trying to become." "Exactly," the last apex confirmed. "Every apex predator evolves with the same unconscious goal to become the perfect hunter. Humans achieved that goal. When these creatures look at you, they see their own evolutionary destiny fulfilled." The collective mind of Altair 7 spoke through its representative. "We understand now. Humans are not just another apex predator species. They are apex predation itself made manifest in biological form." "But what does this mean for the galaxy?" Admiral Quan asked. The last apex moved closer to the humans. "It means evolution has achieved its ultimate expression through your species. You have become the predator that cannot be surpassed because you never stop adapting. Other species evolve to overcome specific challenges," Young-sik said, understanding dawning on his face. "But humans evolved to overcome the concept of challenges itself. Your ancestors didn't just hunt prey," the last apex continued. "They hunted solutions, they hunted knowledge, they hunted new territories, they hunted the impossible and made it possible." Dr. Taehoon was monitoring the brain patterns of all the predators. "Every creature here is showing neural activity associated with pack bonding," he reported. "They're all trying to join the human pack." "That's the final recognition," the last apex said. "When apex predators acknowledge a superior, they don't seek to challenge it, they seek to learn from it." The Ancient One made a deep rumbling sound that the translation system interpreted as, "Teach us to hunt as you hunt. Teach us to adapt." "As you adapt." Admiral Quan looked around at her fellow humans, then at the dozens of apex predators surrounding them peacefully. "We never asked for this responsibility," she said quietly. "Evolution does not ask permission," the last apex replied. "Your species achieved something that no other has accomplished. You became the ultimate expression of life's drive to survive and thrive. With that achievement comes the recognition of every other predator in the galaxy." Dr. Soyoung was taking notes, trying to record everything. "So when they look into human eyes, what exactly do they see?" she asked. "They see the eyes of a predator that has hunted across continents, adapted to every environment, survived every extinction event, and turned every challenge into an opportunity." The last apex answered. "They see the eyes of a species that didn't just become apex predators on one world, but became apex enough to hunt among the stars themselves. They see evolution perfected." Elder Quinthus approached Admiral Quan carefully. "There is something else," he said. "According to our ancient records, when the ultimate predator is finally recognized, it becomes the responsibility of that species to guide the evolution of others." "What does that mean?" Hyanwu asked. "It means humans are no longer just another species in the galaxy," Young-sik said with growing understanding. "You've become the alpha species, not through conquest, but through evolutionary achievement." The last apex began to glow brighter. "My purpose is complete," it said. "For 1,000,000 years I have waited to witness this moment. Now I can finally rest, knowing that evolution has achieved its ultimate goal." As the last apex faded away, its final words echoed through the station. "The ultimate predators have been recognized. Let the galaxy learn from them." Admiral Quan looked around at the peaceful gathering of apex predators. Each one was looking at the humans with respect and expectation. "What do we do now?" she asked. Dr. Hyanwu walked slowly among the creatures. that had once been the most feared hunters in the galaxy. They parted respectfully to let him pass, their eyes following his every movement. "Now we figure out what it means to be the species that evolution has been trying to create for millions of years," he said. "We figure out how to be worthy of the recognition we've been given. And we remember that with ultimate predator status comes ultimate responsibility." The Shadowmaw made a soft rumbling sound that seemed almost like agreement. For the first time in galactic history, every apex predator in the known universe had acknowledged a single species as their evolutionary superior. And in human eyes, they had seen something that transcended species and worlds. The relentless, adaptable spirit that had turned curious apes into the hunters of infinity itself. The recognition was complete. Evolution had found its perfect expression, and the galaxy would never be the same.